When I was a kid, I lived in Japan for 3 years while my dad was stationed at the Yokota Air Base in Fusa, Japan. Even though I was young, I experienced things there that I would carry with me for the rest of my life. In 1996, my family moved back to the United States, where we finally settled down in a suburb outside Baltimore, Maryland. I had no idea that I had just missed the birth of Pokémon, the world's biggest franchise, when I left Japan, or that it would be Pokémon that brought me back to visit 27 years later. Totally exhausted and completely jet-lagged, we landed in Tokyo at about noon on Monday, August 7th. And it was wild because we woke up in the middle of the night, Saturday night, so early Sunday morning, to start our journey to Japan. And then Sunday was pretty much completely eaten up by travel and time differences. So by the time I landed in Japan, I barely knew what day it was or what time it was supposed to be, but I didn't care about any of that because I was so amped to finally be back in Japan. And right as we landed, we noticed some advertisements for the Pokémon World Championships, which got us even more excited because it really felt like the entire city was fired up for Pokémon. After making our way through customs, my wife Natalie, my good friend Riley, and I caught the train to Yokohama. And the first thing that we noticed is that it was extremely humid and hot. Not exactly the weather that you want to be toting your luggage across town in, but we eventually made our way to the hotel where we dropped off our luggage, got cleaned up, and then went out to get a bite to eat. Excited to get out and explore more of Yokohama, I woke up early the next morning and went for a jog along the Uka River, which ran right up next to our hotel. It was absolutely gorgeous, and I loved just soaking in the city and the atmosphere. A little bit too much, because as I was looking around, I tripped and fell. But thankfully, I didn't hurt myself too bad. After my run, I met up with Natalie, Michael, and Riley, and we took the train to Akihabara. Akihabara is the trading card game capital of Tokyo. There are card shops on nearly every street corner here, and it was so much fun getting to explore around and see all of the different Pokemon TCG selections available. Natalie and I scooped up a ton of cards for our collections while we were in Japan. We also tried our hands at some claw machines and were largely unsuccessful. These things are all rigged. You're always better off just buying the plushie that you want. But my goodness, how could I help myself? The prizes were so cute. Even though we didn't have any luck with the claw machines, we had a great time picking out our favorite figures in the gachapon machines. After working up an appetite, we stopped and ate some ramen at a place nearby, which was incredible. Then we met up with my friend JW and took the train to Tokyo, where we visited our first Pokemon Center, the Pokemon Center Tokyo DX in Nihonbashi. As the day came to a close and we made our way back to Yokohama, the group decided that we would spend the entirety of Wednesday preparing for the Pokémon World Championships. Registration was on Thursday, and we wanted to try our best to have everything squared away before then. Things ended up working out nicely since Wednesday was rainy, so I didn't feel too bad spending the day inside playing Pokemon cards. We found a nice spot in the Yokohama City Hall with a couple of tables where we posted up and played some games. After practicing all day Wednesday, our group was feeling pretty confident in the Miraidon EX deck that we had been working on. So on Thursday, we decided to keep things pretty low-key, go around to some card shops, and eventually wait in line to register for the World Championships. Now you would think that maybe this would be a smooth process. It was not. They had every single competitor and every single spectator and everybody who wanted to visit the World Championship merchandise store all waiting in line for hours, and there was no way to avoid it. We had to wait outside in the 90-degree heat for hours the day before the biggest tournament of the year, and it was pretty tough, I'm not gonna lie. But by the time we finally made it through the line, it was way too late to visit the World Store, so that wasn't an option, but I was able to get my competitor kits, which came with a bunch of World's exclusive merchandise, and we eventually made our way back to the hotel to rest up for the big day. Waking up Friday morning, I was extremely nervous. Not so much in my mind, as I was confident in my ability to play and the deck I had chosen, just a bodily nervousness where I felt like my heart could explode out of my chest. It felt like my entire body could just turn to mush. But as I walked into the convention hall, the hype and the adrenaline of all of the people and the absolute magic of the opening ceremony helped wash that all away. Everyone wants to do well at the World Championships. Obviously, players work all year to qualify for this event and travel from all over the world to compete with the very best. This is my 6th World Championship qualification, but out of all of the years that I've qualified for Worlds, I've only ever made it to the second day of competition one time, in 2015, where I was able to finish 9th place. So it's been a little while since I've been able to make a deep run at the World Championships, which is understandable. There are 800 of the best players in the world all here competing for that top spot. As much as I'd love to do well, this trip already means so much more to me than any tournament finish possibly could. And that thought of being somewhere like this with my friends and my family really helped to carry me through the first day of competition. But thankfully, I didn't need to rely on any of that kumbaya, life is good copium stuff, because I qualified for day 2 with a record of 6-2, winning my final 2 rounds of the day. I did it. I won my final round. I'm so excited. I haven't made a day 2 at the World Championships since 2015. I lost my winning into day 2 in 2018. It was crazy. I was absolutely ecstatic to qualify for another day 2 at the World Championships. I had earned the chance to play 8 more rounds the following day in a much smaller field of just under 200 players to compete for the number 1 spot. As stoked as I was to play in day 2 again, I really had my eyes set on a top 32 finish. Top 32 players get cash, they get a World Championship exclusive travel bag, a promo card. Top 32 is where you want to be. Top 64, top 128, they get nothing. I started off the second day of competition strong by winning my first 2 matches, but that momentum quickly came to a halt with 2 tough losses after that. At a record of 2-2, I would need to win at least 3 of my 4 remaining matches to have an opportunity to finish in the top 32 players overall. And sure enough, I was able to win my next 3 matches straight and tied my final round of the day, finishing with a record of 5-2-1, which put me at 21st place. I was so excited to have another World Championship finish under my belt, and with a deck that not a lot of other players respected going into the event, and with a list that I had really helped to refine myself, I was very proud of this result, and it felt like the perfect way to start off what was already shaping up to be the trip of a lifetime. After the event, myself, Riley, Michael, and Natalie all went out to watch the amazing drone light show over the Yokohama harbor. There were so many people from all over the city out watching the show. It really was a memorable way to end the night. After the tournament ended, we left Yokohama to go stay in an Airbnb in Shibuya with my parents, who had just arrived in town. This was their first time back in Japan after 27 years as well. So it was really special getting to spend this next week with them. One of the first things that we did was visit Takashita Street, which is a vibrant shopping street in Tokyo. There were a lot of really cool vendors, but by far the neatest thing was this rainbow cheese 10 yen coin thing, which was delicious. After touring around Tokyo early in the week, we visited the Team Lab Planet's art installation on Tuesday night. It was a gorgeous experience. Team Lab Planets is an art installation that you walk through barefoot, and the installation changes and responds to you and your actions as you walk through and experience the art. So the lines between the art and the viewer are really blurred as you become a part of the piece as you experience it. It was a really beautiful and one-of-a-kind experience. I've never seen anything quite like this. On Wednesday morning, we woke up early to go visit Showa Memorial Park in Tachikawa, Tokyo. This was a place I was really looking forward to visiting since I remember it from when I was a kid living in Japan. There were so many different things that I saw here which brought back memories from my childhood, but by far the thing that I was most looking forward to seeing were these giant stone dragons that I remembered playing on when I was a kid. And after walking around the park for about an hour, we finally found them. It was really surreal and emotional getting to see these again after so long. Wednesday afternoon, we had a reservation at the Pokémon Cafe thanks to Michael Zeely, who booked it for us. And I'm really glad we went because it was a lot of fun. The food was excellent, by far the best novelty food dishes that I've ever had. I had some ramen that was Pikachu themed and this really awesome Gengar slushie, which had an LED ice cube in it. Pikachu came out and performed for us too. It was just a ton of fun. It was really cute. Leading up to our trip to Japan, Riley and I had talked about climbing Mount Fuji. And as we were doing some research on it, we found out that it is possible to climb the mountain in just a single day. So on Thursday, we wanted to get to Station 5 on Mount Fuji as early as possible, and in order to do so, we had to take the train to Kawaguchiko Station. Unfortunately, all of the early trips to Kawaguchiko were sold out, as it was peak climbing season and everybody was trying to climb Mount Fuji. So the earliest we could get to Kawaguchiko Station was 11 a.m. And then once we got there, we had to book a bus ride from Kawaguchiko to Station 5. Our bus didn't take off for another hour, and then the bus ride took an hour. We got to Station 5 at 1 p.m. And the map says it takes about 6 hours to climb Mount Fuji and another few hours to descend. And the road from Station 5 back to Kawaguchiko Station closes at 7 p.m. So there was no way we were going to be able to make it all the way up the mountain and then back down and then back to Kawaguchiko Station before the road closed for the night. And since this was peak climbing season, all of the cabins along the hiking route were fully booked and had been for months. To complicate things even further, the sun was supposed to set at about 7 p.m., right about the time we were on track to reach the summit. And it's not like you can rush the hike or anything, because then you'll end up with altitude sickness. So we didn't really have a plan as to how this was all going to work itself out. We had realized that there was no way we were getting off this mountain today, but we were really excited, so we just started hiking.
Brutal out here.
And you know, that altitude sickness I was talking about? Well, you're supposed to spend about an hour at Station 5 to help you get acclimated to the altitude before you start hiking. But, of course, being in a rush, we didn't do that. So the first hour of the hike was really tough. Coming up on our first checkpoint. No problem. The map said that it was about a 50-minute hike from Station 5 to Station 6, and we didn't realize it, but we had accidentally blown past Station 6 in our excitement to get started. So about an hour and a half into the hike, we were wondering where Station 6 was supposed to be, and then all of a sudden, we came up on Station 7, which really helped to lift our spirits. I told you, bro, we had gone way too long. Ain't no way that was a 50-minute hike. No. Oh, baby. Got a couple of
Rice burgers.
yeah,
They're very hot right now, so let them chill.
Fuji's finest.
That's right. That's right. Got our first set of stamps.
We did.
We missed a rest stop.
We did. We blew straight past rest stop number 6, thinking that that was just a bathroom stop. A glorified bathroom stop.
It looked like one.
And then as we were about halfway up to 7, I'm like, dang, it's been
A while.
and we haven't seen 6 yet. And you can ride horses to number 6. And I was
no
like,
more horses.
and I was like, there's no way that you could ride a horse where we are right now.
That's true.
That was what was that was what was giving it away to me that we had passed 6 for sure. The lack of horses.
Yeah, that's fair.
This rice burger was a total game changer. My body was so thankful for this. I cannot express how good this rice burger was in this moment. Station 7 was a lot of fun. The stations are more or less a collection of cabins that are separated by some shorter hiking trails, and they offer different amenities like snacks, drinks, and bathrooms that you can use along the hike. And each cabin has its own brand or stamp that you can get for your hiking stick, which is a fun way to keep track of your journey. Station 7 also had cans of oxygen for sale. Thank God. Shortly after passing Station 7, it started raining, but that didn't slow us down. We put our ponchos on and kept trekking. Starting to feel a little easier, which is good, even though the climbing's getting harder.
Yeah, we're getting more used to like the elevation and the rhythm of it. Definitely feel more in a groove now than towards the start.
Towards the start, I'm not gonna lie, morale was a little low.
Yeah.
But morale is like super high now. We got some oxygen cans, we had a bite to eat, we're getting our stamps. Yeah, it's cool, it's cool. The hiking was starting to get a lot more intense, but thankfully the rain didn't last long and the weather cleared up. There are 9 stations on Mount Fuji. The 9th station is the peak. We started on Station 5 and we were getting ready to come up on Station 8. We still didn't have a plan as to how we were going to make it through the entire hike. I'm starting to think to myself, maybe we can buy some headlamps at the peak and then descend in the dark. As we expected, every cabin that we passed had a sign that said, "No vacancy for the night." We arrived at Station 8, and the signpost said that we still had 3 hours of hiking remaining until we reached the summit. The view at Station 8 was unlike anything that I had ever experienced in my life. The closest point of comparison I have to this is looking out the window of an airplane. It was awe-inspiring. Looking down on the clouds and the lakes and the mountains below, and it really set in for me how blessed and thankful I am to have such an incredible experience. This ascent was proving to be one of the most mentally and physically challenging things I had ever done in my life. All of my years as an athlete, running track and cross country couldn't have possibly prepared me for this. Riley and I were digging real deep at this point. We had been climbing all day and there was still no rest in sight. we were in desperate need of something to help us continue with our climb. And then the most amazing thing happened.
Oh my God. Just check this. Look at this.
That's crazy. Oh, it's so crazy.
Oh my God.
Not long after witnessing the most beautiful rainbow above the clouds, our prayers were answered. At station 8.5, the last stop before the peak, there were a pair of cancellations at the hotel, and Riley and I were able to book a night's stay, complete with dinner and breakfast. This is our view from the hotel on Mount Fuji.
Honestly, I feel pretty good. We saw a rainbow right after the 8th station, and just the beauty of the world kind of reinvigorated me. So I've been feeling good since then, and obviously, like, it's great to found a hut and be able to stay the night. Feel completely rejuvenated tomorrow and get to see the sunrise, one of the most beautiful things that you can see in all of Japan. So, you know, people come from all over the world to see this. So the fact that we get the privilege to do it when we originally were not even planning to see it is really cool.
Spending the night this close to the peak of Mount Fuji was a dream come true. It was amazing getting to watch the sunset over the mountains and seeing the cities below light up in the night sky. Now Riley and I had the opportunity to rest up and prepare for an early morning hike to the summit so we could watch the sunrise. What we didn't know was exactly how early everything was going to get started. The first alarm in our hotel went off at 1:30 a.m., and then everybody started waking up. So we woke up, got dressed, ate our breakfast, and joined the crowd of people heading out to the trail in the middle of the night. To our amazement, there was a single file line of hikers wearing headlamps as far up and down the mountain as we could see. Everybody was hiking through the night so that they could get to the peak of Mount Fuji just in time for sunrise. After hiking single file for a couple of hours, we finally reached the summit at 4:30 a.m., 20 minutes before sunrise.
Yeah.
Man. We found a spot to enjoy the view. I FaceTimed my wife Natalie, and we watched the sunrise from the peak of Mount Fuji. What in the world am I supposed to say about this? This is the most beautiful thing that I've ever experienced in my life. Climbing Mount Fuji was one of the most challenging, most life-affirming things I have ever done. And I think probably one of the most incredible things I ever will do. God is good. Life is abundant. Sometimes seeing the world from a different angle, literally, can help put everything else into perspective. And to get to do something so special like this with one of my best friends will be a memory that I'll cherish forever. And now, we go down. The hike down Mount Fuji took a couple of hours and was really tough on my knees. It was a lot of back and forth on this loose, gravelly trail. I slipped and fell a couple of times, but after a few hours, we made our way back to Station 5, where we caught a cab to Kawaguchiko Station, and then we took a bus all the way to Tokyo. After taking some time to rest and recover back in the Airbnb, we decided to spend our final day in Japan climbing another mountain, Mount Takao. Thankfully, this mountain is much easier to ascend. You can take a tram almost all the way up. There were some really beautiful shrines that we got to visit on Mount Takao, and monkeys. We also got to meet up with some of my parents' old friends, Troy and Vanessa, that we hadn't seen since the 90s. We toured around the mountain for a while and then took the chairlift down. This was a much more relaxing way to experience a mountain. And on our last night in Japan, we went out to a cool little record-themed bar and cafe, and then got Japanese barbecue for dinner. I always say that playing the Pokemon trading card game is about so much more than Pokemon cards. It's about the friends you make, the places you go, and the things that you experience along the way.